Today's podcast is picking up on a conversation that Lynsey and I had half of last week, which was about Ozempic or GLP-1 peptides. It is the talk of the town, and we were going to ignore it and hope that people would find, I guess, the strength within themselves to help themselves. And after that conversation, Lyns, I don't know about you, but there was even more chat about this. And of course, people talking about the health benefits of peptides like Ozempic and, all the other ones out there that are obviously helping people lose weight quickly. We discussed whether they were losing weight safely, and there's a few questions around that because obviously, as we discussed and you enlightened me to, that because it's slowing down your digestive tract, your digestive system, the food's sitting in there longer, there's health issues with that, and there's also whether you're getting enough nutrients out of the food that you're eating. So there are some questions that I hope people are asking their GPs about this before they decide to dive in and give it a go.
Absolutely. And the one thing that we do want to say is it's a nuanced conversation. It is not black and white. There are times and there are certain populations that are really struggling with obesity that we're not questioning that this can be something that can be a life-changing intervention. I think where the real debate is almost every second person being on it. And is that the right approach? And I hope through this podcast, we could really put across the message that this GLP pathway that we have, it is naturally in our body. So we actually can access it with many, many different practices and foods and strategies, which we're going to dive into today. But it is something that is naturally occurring. So I often say if there's certain people that are trying to just drop, 10 kilos or something like that, that aren't in that category where obesity is really, affecting their life, I always say, let's try these interventions first. Let's see if we can tick these boxes off foundationally and then see how you go.
Okay, so let's do a little recap. If you're injecting one of these into your body, what is going in?
Yes. So it is a peptide. It's not the same as a lot of other medications that we use. So peptides are a little bit different. They stimulate those receptor sites. They don't block them like medications do. And so the main issue that I have with a lot of these GLP-1 medications is the dosage. So we are seeing hundreds times, up to 1,000 times more dose of GLP-1 peptide being used in these medications than is naturally occurring in the body. And that is primarily why there's such significant side effects, which is primarily the nausea, the vomiting, and potentially gastroparesis, which is that slowing or paralysis of the digestive tract, simply because we're injecting into those receptor sites way more than we would ever have naturally in the body. And they're sticking around for longer too. So it's just as sometimes humans do, we tend to dabble with biochemistry without understanding the ramifications. It's not so simple.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because it is a peptide, I think people are feeling a lot more confident to use it than they would to, say, have a vaccination or take medication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's naturally occurring.
It is. And this is the thing, and we talked on it as well, is you can't patent a peptide because it's something that's naturally occurring in nature. But the way that they actually enhance this medication is they add in these little fatty acid esters, which means that when they add something to it, they can patent it. And that means it's their medication and they can make a lot of money from it. And on top of that, they found ways to make the GLP-1 medications stay in the body for longer. Because like I said, the half-life of our own naturally occurring GLP-1 is even up to like a few minutes, meaning it serves a purpose. It basically sends a signal to our brain, okay, we're full, we're done, you don't need to eat anymore. And then its job is done. But what we're finding is these medications, because of the way they're manipulating the peptides, they're staying in the body for longer. So it takes about 3 days for that medication to kick in, and then the side effects occur. But when you stop the medication, it can take 3 weeks to a month for it to actually clear the system. So people will still experience the significant side effects up to a month after stopping medication.
Okay, so what we really want to do is stimulate our own GLP-1.
Yes.
Would that be right? Is that
Yes.
the phrase that we use? Yes, we just need to activate our own GLP-1.
And you know what? There are so many ways. But ironically, I was sitting back and reflecting, thinking, we have these multiple ways of stimulating the GLP-1 pathway. But when you look at the way modern humans live, the way our food has changed, a lot of them have dropped off, which is why we do have an obesity and a cardiometabolic crisis in most of our first world countries, because we're just not doing these really simple things that naturally stimulate that pathway. So we're here today to
Okay.
talk about it.
Yes. What do I do?
Yes.
How do I stimulate my pathway?
Yes. Absolutely. I love it. I could talk about this all day. Again, we'll dive into food first because there is just a huge list of foods that are really beneficial. We're going to jump to the one that probably gets the most publicity, that we've talked about a lot on the Aging Project and You Must Try It, which is fiber. And I want to explain how fiber works. And we've even talked about this in some of the challenges that we're running, like our belly fat challenge that we've got going at the moment, is certain foods will naturally slow down your digestive system. Fiber is the best one at doing that. So when we eat fiber first in our meal, what we're doing is we're essentially slowing down the glucose release. We are slowing down the progression of the food to be in the right pace so that then we can absorb more nutrients at it. And there's a really cool thing about fiber too, is that you actually get a second release of GLP-1 from fiber about 4 to 6 hours later, which fiber is one of the unique foods that does that compared to things like protein. So you almost get this, what they call a second meal effect. Wow. Yeah, which is really cool. But as we know, when we look at the statistics of modern first world humans, we're barely scraping in with 15 grams of fiber.
Okay, so list some high fiber foods for us. We're going back to full basics
Absolutely. Well, I always say the simplest way to know what fibrous foods are is things that you really have to chew and crunch. That is the simplest way you can explain what fiber is. So, of course, it's a lot of our vegetables, things that are really crunchy, that you have to use these teeth to work. You've got nuts and seeds as well. There is other additives. Psyllium husk is something. Some people will take psyllium husk alone just as a natural GLP-1 stimulator. So that's really cool. It's actually not huge interventions. But if you look at your diet and you just try and get in half of your plate full of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, that's every meal. If half of your plate is covered with them and you eat them first, you are going to naturally stimulate that GLP-1 pathway.
Right, so it's not just about eating them at all, it's eating them first. Are we talking just within the meal time, or should you really have it half an hour beforehand?
Look, you can do. You definitely probably won't be hungry if you eat fiber first and then try and eat a half an hour later, because you will find it is just really, really difficult to overeat. If you think about it, when you have a really, really huge salad that's really meaty, you naturally kind of know when to put your fork down, don't you? Where it's a little bit more difficult to do that when you're eating a carbohydrate-based food, and that's because of the role of what fiber does. So we know even the order that you eat your food, and we've talked about this, like I said, in our challenges, is if you eat your veggies first, if you just get into the routine of going, you know what, I'm going to eat all my veggies first, always, that will change the order and the speed of the glucose release and your satiety and your GLP-1. Just by
It's so easy. That's an easy one. We can do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because most people will try to put veggies there, but it's kind of like, listen to your mother, eat your veggies first.
Eat your veggies first.
Yeah.
Not eat your veggies, eat your veggies first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's almost like, an appetizer. If you have that crunch plate out before the meal is ready, chances are you're having your raw carrots and let's talk about cooking them too. Yes. Raw carrots, your celery, your cucumbers, your lettuces, your nuts. If you're sort of nibbling on that as your entree.
Yes.
Chances are by the time you get to the main, which hopefully has a lot of protein in there, you're not going to be as hungry. This is easy, people. We can do this. We just got to commit to the cause.
And just understanding that our food works in different ways. Each food has a beautiful gift for us. For, these vegetables, we have polyphenols, which help that GLP-1 pathway as well. But the fiber content in it really, really satiates us, which is what it is. Because I think that these medications are just taking such popularity is because people are not hungry. And I think people really struggle with hunger because, and this is the challenge that I have as a clinical nutritionist with these medications, is hunger is a biological adaptation to drive someone to seek out food for the main purpose of bringing in nutrition and nutrients.
To survive.
Yeah, to survive. Yes. So that every organ, system, and tissue has the nutrients that it needs. So my concern is if we really powerfully stop that drive for hunger, what are the nutritional ramifications of that? And so knowing things like your fiber first, always on a plate, is a way that you don't even have to think about it. You just kind of train yourself to do it.
A quick pause for anyone interested in joining our DNA testing program in partnership with Fit Genes, a world-leading genetics company. So many of you have already joined our Fit Genes community. So now, for anyone who hasn't, it's your turn. Get to know your genes with us. When you know your genes and your unique genetic breaks, you can do something about it. For us here at the Aging Project, we've learned it's the best first step in our aging well journey. If you'd like to learn more, visit theagingproject.com and join the Fit Genes waitlist. We'll send you all the details so you can get started. Yeah, and that's really what it is. And we talk a lot about baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. This isn't a quick fix. Mm-hmm. This isn't going to obviously had the instant results. And as you say, people are seeing these results within 2 or 3 days of starting the injections. It's going to take some time and some effort, but by God, you're going to feel better for it. And there's no side effects to eating good food, let's be honest. You're going to get the results for yourself, which is a mental game too, isn't it? And it's long term. If you start these little practices, you can maintain this for the rest of your natural born life.
Yeah. This is the thing that we're really trying to push, obviously, on the Aging Project, is trying to get rid of the diet mentality. And we're on a slippery slope here with GLP-1 medications because it's kind of focusing on calories. It's focusing on restriction. It's focusing, I can't, what am I going to save my calories for? We're really trying to get away from that because as women in particular, our whole lives are consumed with that. It's just, what can I eat? What should I do? What shouldn't do? Mm-hmm. So we're really trying to steer ourselves away. And I'm kind of like going, oh, no, don't go down that pathway.
Okay, so if you are taking these peptides, should you also be eating more fiber? Like, what is the double up here? If you want to sort of, I guess, get to your ideal weight, and then you want to start doing this for yourself because you do feel good and you are motivated, and I completely understand the mental game of that. I now feel great because I'm back in my skinny jeans, and I can do this myself now because I've achieved what I've found really difficult to do on my own. If you then start the practices that we talk about here, are you going to be okay? Are you doubling up on fiber? Are you overactivating? Are you underactivating? What happens there?
Yeah, well, it's actually really, really important to change the habits. If people are going to be using the medications for a short duration, which there are some people that will, it is really important that underneath the use of these medications that you are changing your habits, because if the habits don't change when you get off the medication, you're going to fall right back into how you've been operating that probably got you to a part in your health that you're not happy with. So fiber is really, really important because one of the most major side effects of them is constipation. Because not only are we slowing significantly the speed of food moving through the system, we're also not hardly eating anything. So our fiber content is significantly dropping. So people are finding themselves being severely constipated. So I would say if you are on the medication, you still need to eat protein. You still need to eat veggies. You still need to get the fiber in there, because if you do that, when the medication's gone, perhaps you'll continue those habits.
Okay. 2 questions here. Cooked vegetables?
Yep.
Or raw?
Look, raw a little bit better if you've got a good digestive system that's kind of working. Cooked still has fiber. It just breaks down the fiber a little bit more. But there's very minimal difference between a raw veggie and a cooked veggie. You got to make sure that you're getting the fiber content in there. Something that's also... And go ahead, Shelley.
What I was just thinking about it. What about juices? I've recently bought a cold press juicer. But I'm noticing, obviously, a lot more of the, I will call it fiber, coming, being left behind. And you're not eating the pulp as you would with a normal juicing machine, but then I've heard cold press is better for you. So I'm giving it a red hot go, and it's saving me lots of money on my celery juice, I will be honest. But yes, obviously a lot of the fiber in juices is extracted.
Yes. Yeah. So look, juices, as long as they're 98% vegetables, I don't have an issue with. It's when you start adding fruits in with those veggie juices at high content that you are going to just remove the fiber, and then you are going to have a little bit of a glucose spike in. So yes, in some ways, when you remove fiber, you are speeding up the rate that glucose is going to enter the bloodstream.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not a if an us or them, it's all of the above.
Yeah.
Have your juices, but you must be eating vegetable in its natural form as
Yes.
much as possible.
Yeah, no, you can't have all your vegetables in liquid form, I'm afraid. Sorry.
No. No, still very
It
hydrating
is,
and
yeah.
delicious. And it's helping me with my sugar cravings,
Yes.
which is weird because obviously celery juice with a bit of cucumber or lemon is not particularly
Sweet.
sweet at all. But I find I'm craving a lot less sugar than I used to.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, look, it's actually the polyphenols. That's what we were talking about, is not only you get in vegetables and fruits, you get the fiber component. One of the other elements that stimulates the GLP-1 pathway is actually polyphenols. So all those bright colors, the greens, the orange, the yellows, the purples, all those pigments are polyphenols that we know go into our gut, go into our microbiome, our bacteria metabolize and interact with them, and they release short chain fatty acids that then will also stimulate that GLP-1 pathway. So, like I said, gotta have a love for vegetables. They are really incredible on many fronts.
And if you don't
Find it.
force yourself to love a vegetable because they will grow on you.
Yeah.
Excuse the pun.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so,
Okay, so we're fibering up.
yes, fibering up. Protein.
What else can we do?
Yep, protein. We have to talk about protein. It is also something, and most people that have dabbled with eating foods will realize when you eat a fibrous or a protein filled meal, it is kind of difficult. It does last longer. Your energy will be more stable. You'll notice that straight away. But having those amino acids, they also will stimulate the same receptor sites to get the GLP-1 pathway. Really cool research on collagen, actually. So we're finding that, all of us as women, we love collagen for many reasons already. Well, here's another reason to love it is they're looking into it also being an activator of that GLP-1 pathway because it's protein. Collagen is protein. So having your collagen first thing in the morning, you might find in your light protein coffee that you are finding it a little bit easier to not overeat or reach for the carby foods or the sweet foods. So protein is something that we definitely want to make sure people are getting in, aiming for that sort of 90 grams protein per day if we can, and getting it in every single meal.
So 90 grams, again, that's a generic
Yeah.
amount.
Yes.
It's not per weight, it's not per size, it's not per sex.
It can be. It depends on how. Sometimes we don't want to overwhelm people. If we just aim for about 30 grams of protein per meal, which is generally, we always say the visual, the easiest way without even counting or macros or weighing is if you can just get a fist-sized portion of protein, if it's animal-based proteins, you're going to get roughly anywhere between 25 and 30 grams. If it's plant-based proteins, you need about a fist and a half. So if you just have this visual guide of going, okay, on every single meal, I need a good source of protein that equates to roughly a fist or a fist and a half size, you don't have to think too much more than that. There is, 1.2 to 1.4 grams per kilogram body weight. You can do calculations, but at the end of the day, we want to make this easy for you.
Yeah, just a fist. And your own fist, obviously, if you're a bigger person, chances are you're going to have bigger fists, so you need a little bit more protein.
Yeah. It's actually quite clever the way nature's designed it.
Isn't it amazing? She is amazing. Okay, so if we're talking protein, then again, the equivalent, a protein shake. Does that count? And is that enough? And again, we're not chewing. So the fact that people are on a medication that stops you from enjoying food, makes me sad to start because I love the ritual of eating. I love mealtime and I love socializing with my friends around a big full table. So I do feel for all the restaurants out there that may be suffering that people aren't eating anymore. This is sad. But does a protein shake cut it?
It will help, yes. As we're never advocates for replacing real food and whole foods, but we do know that as we get into this sort of 40 plus age bracket, it is kind of a little bit trickier to meet those protein targets. So whether you use I would say clean protein shake or powder or collagen as a protein source, it can still help you. Yeah, when you are intaking those protein and amino acids, it's going to still stimulate the GLP-1 pathway.
Gut health is a topic that many of our guests, like Dr. Frank Lipman and Catherine Maslin, have mentioned in the past, which is why we have a range of products we've researched over at youmusttryit.com. We encourage you to be proactive about your gut health and let us help you resolve any ongoing issues. You can also book a health coaching appointment over at youmusttryit.com. Just go to health coaching to learn more.
Okay, so we're stimulating it through fiber, we're stimulating it through protein. That's your meal done.
Yeah.
What else can we be taking? Are there supplements that we should be thinking about? Is there anything that can cut those sugar cravings so that you're not then having a dessert on the end of that, which I'm sure, does sugar affect your GLP-1?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. What we'll do is I definitely want to talk about bitter foods before we move into therapeutics and supplements. Bitter foods are one of the main things that have disappeared off of people's plates in the last 50 years. So we used to
Right.
eat a lot of things, even fruits and vegetables actually used to taste a little bit more on the bitter side, but fruits now are quite sweet. We have kind of farmed them in a way that they are very, very sweet. So, bitter foods are responsible for 50 to 70% of your digestive signaling. Now, we have bitter receptors on our tongue, but we also have bitter receptors all through our digestive system. And bitter receptors are really, really responsible for influencing the GLP-1 pathway.
No.
Yeah.
And because we haven't had them in our diet, this is why people's systems aren't working as well as they could.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying is when you take a step back and you look at how the changes have occurred in our diet, our lifestyle, the food manufacturing, we've gotten rid of fiber. There was a huge trend there of getting rid of good fats. Protein kind of sat there in the middle, but we definitely got rid of a lot of bitter foods. Like most people don't like the taste of anything that's bitter. They kind of
Why is that? Why, if we need it so badly, why does our body make you act like a cat with that verbal when you have something?
Well, this goes on the same theory of hormesis. When you give your body something that kind of triggers a response that might be uncomfortable, you actually get beneficial responses. The same thing with exercise. Exercise technically is a hormetic therapy. It is putting stressors on your body, but then as a result of that stressor or interaction, your body is then creating beneficial metabolites and creating lean muscle. Same thing with the sauna, same thing with an ice bath. All these things that we're using as biohacking technically are hormetic therapies, is we're putting something into the body that technically is stressing it on a minor level. So that's what the same thing is with bitter compounds. When our tongue senses bitter compounds and through our system, it's actually going to respond in a really incredible way.
So if you think of it like a car, or I was about to say when you put the key in and turn the engine
Mm-hmm.
on, now you just press the button, right? So when you when you turn the engine on, things start working, things start moving.
Absolutely.
Simple.
And we're not getting this signaling because what we are getting is more highly processed foods that tend to be more carbohydrate based, which tend to have more sugars in them and the wrong kinds of fats. So we have to return to
so-
our roots.
Yeah, roll off some bitter foods for me.
Yeah, so orange peel, lemon, ginger, rocket or arugula, even apple cider vinegar. That's why we're big fans too of using apple cider vinegar. Anyone that's taken a shot of apple cider vinegar knows. No one really loves apple cider vinegar, but
And you don't get used to it. It's one of
No.
those things. It's like here in Byron Bay, walking the lighthouse never gets easier.
No.
And I think apple cider vinegar is the same. I can take 3 shots of this a day and it doesn't get any better.
No. Hippocrates used apple cider vinegar. It's been around for a really, really long time. It was one of his first medicines. Even things like teas. So this is 2 teas in particular that are really, really relevant in this whole GLP-1 conversation is green tea, which again, important, ECGC, and there's antioxidants in there, and also yerba mate. So yerba mate is really powerful. You can get up to a 40% increase in GLP-1 signaling with a,
Through a cup of tea.
yes, yep,
What?
with a cup of yerba mate tea. Green tea is a little bit less than 40%, but again, you talk to most people and they're like, green tea, no, I don't like the taste of it anymore. We're a little too used to comfort, even when it comes to our food.
Yes. Well, again, we've got a lot going on. So if you have to battle with your food, along with battling with everything else in your life, and I guess that's why sometimes we turn to it for comfort,
Yeah.
because it's safe and it's easy and it's a friend
Yeah.
and all those other things. But we need one of those bitter friends
Bitter friends.
that tells us the truth. that you have to check in with every day.
We all-
What's that other tea? You're talking green tea and
Yerba mate.
yerba
Yerba
mate.
mate. Yep. Yeah, I know there's quite a few practitioners that talk. Huberman talks about it a lot. He loves his yerba mate tea. He's done all kinds of research on it.
This isn't matcha. This is mate.
This is yerba mate, and of course, green tea and matcha is green tea. Matcha is just a more potent version of green tea. So whether you're doing matcha or a standard green tea, or you're doing yerba mate tea, great, take it. Yep, fantastic at stimulating that. And that's because of those bitter alkaloids and those tannins and those things that are in the tea. So that's what I'm saying is we just have to get our palate to change. Unknowingly, because of food manufacturing, our palate has just continued to go down this line of like this salty, sweet, poor quality fat route. And that's something that's just happened over time. Your palate can change. And if we start to change our palate to be a bit more receptive to these bitter compounds, something as simple as that is going to help your metabolic health just by getting in more bitter foods like we used to.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because it really is the Western world. It really is the Western world, isn't it? Because if you look at other cultures, Italians, for instance, they will sit down to a bowl of rucola,
Yes.
rocket, and Parmesan
Yep.
cheese, which obviously has some good fats in it, but it's a little bit bitter and it's a little bit tart and it's all those things
Yeah.
before they have their meal.
Yes.
The Asian countries will have green tea before they have their meal. Like, they're doing it right. We've just made it too easy for ourselves, which is now making it very hard for ourselves.
Yeah, it's a really interesting way to look at it. There's also the element too is there's certain probiotics that can be very helpful. So fermented foods is another thing that we want to try and incorporate into our diet. And in particular, if we eat the right type of foods with polyphenols, we've talked about pomegranate before. Pomegranate is an incredible food to increase a particular probiotic in the gut called Akkermansia muciniphila. And that particular strain of bacteria is a game changer when it comes to GLP-1. So you can have a little GLP-1 buddy as long as you have it in your microbiome. The key is that you've got to eat the foods to keep that bacteria there.
This doesn't sound that hard.
No.
We're having beautiful salads. We're having lots of crunchy, colourful food.
Yep.
We're having lovely teas.
Yeah.
So we're not missing out on that joy of preparation or that joy of eating. We've just got to make sure we've got the right mix in there.
And it's bringing in, like you said, the ritual of food is, I believe, obviously slightly biased as a clinical nutritionist, but I really believe sitting down to a meal, hopefully whole foods, that beautiful Mother Earth has provided for us with your loved ones, and taking time and connecting, I think is something that as human beings, we need more of.
We've also been missing that too, right? So I draw the line in the sand now. I see so many things that are just going fundamentally wrong in my eyes in the world right now, and it's as much about connection as it is about all these other things. So yes, that is such a lovely way if we set our minds to it and create these beautiful, healthy, supportive meals. Here's where the problem comes in. If we're switching out our big dinners for our big breakfasts, how do we do that? Who wants to sit down to vegetables in the morning?
Me. I'm trying to get everyone. Which it's a little bit of convincing in the beginning, but we have had many women already go through the belly fat challenge. That's what we ask them to do. We're asking you to have dinner breakfast. We're asking your dinner to mirror breakfast. You get flexibility when it comes to lunch a little bit more. You can have more of your carbs at the lunchtime meal, but those two meals at the beginning of the day and the end of the day should somewhat mirror each other. There's a little bit of opening of the mindset in the beginning, but I can guarantee you, watch what happens when you do it.
Yeah.
Set yourself a challenge of doing it, even if it's just for 5 days. Just go 5 days. That's right. The Aging Project talked about having a savory breakfast that's got protein, good fats, and lots of fiber. Watch what happens to your energy. Watch how cravings just completely disappear. You don't have to have this internal battle all day long. Oh, I really want to eat that. No, I shouldn't. There's no food noise. And I think this is why these medications are huge, is because people are going, I'm free from the food noise. Well, I'm going, hang on, guys. You can get that same result just by eating a breakfast that has protein, good fats, and half your plate covered with vegetables.
This is really exciting because I know we can do this, and it just takes a bit of commitment. And I know there's easier ways, but this is a better way. There is no doubt about that. And all those other wonderful health benefits that are being spruiked, obviously through these companies about what these medications can do for you. You also get that from doing it this way?
Absolutely. So one of the benefits that they're, saying with these Ozempic type medications is inflammation is lowered. And I go, well, here, I'm going to give you another alternative. Turmeric is also another food that stimulates the GLP-1 pathway. It actually extends the shelf life, or it's like the half-life of it, sorry. And it is something that also reduces inflammation dramatically in the body. So we have
Okay, so how are we taking our turmeric? We can have that as a coffee or a tea or a tablet or a capsule.
Yeah, it can meet you wherever you're at. You can have turmeric lattes in the morning. You can sprinkle turmeric over all kinds of different foods. You can put it in, I love a little wellness shot. So there's a recipe I'll give my clients of like a little, it's kind of like a bitter. It's got a little bit of apple cider vinegar. It's got orange peel. It's got lemon. It's got ginger. It's got turmeric. And they take it as a little wellness shot first thing in the morning to reduce inflammation. But if they do it just prior to their first meal, they're really, really helping that GLP-1 pathway as well.
We are ramping our GLPs. They are going bananas
I know.
in there.
Hitting it all
This is so exciting because we have spoken about this before, obviously, how to eat well.
Yeah.
But now I think there's a real hunger and need for why. And this whole GLP chat is just another reason why eating well. And maybe that's the motivation you needed. Maybe just having more energy or less sugar cravings wasn't enough to eat well. This is your reason to do it.
And just start with the first meal. That's the one thing is people are busy. We do get it. Everyone's kind of, short on time. But if you can just set yourself the challenge of just nailing your breakfast and following those rules, you will start to get the momentum that you need. And the challenge we have about the medications too is significant weight loss quickly is never a good idea for the human body. The body doesn't love massive changes really, really quickly. It's like ripping the rug out from underneath it. If you want changes to stick and you want them to last, you go slowly because there's a natural pendulum swing. This is the same thing with restrictive diets. You can do a restrictive diet, starve yourself, lose a bunch of weight. Eventually you can't keep it. It's physics. It's a natural pendulum swing to the opposite end. So if you go slowly and lose weight slowly, metabolically, it is going to be so much more beneficial for the body.
I'm going to say that the people who are obese, that have struggled with their weight their whole lives, that genetics plays into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know, we've done the research, people that are significantly overweight literally have less GLP-1. So there's biochemistry here. And so it technically is very difficult for them. So we're not arguing that there are cases and certain people that these medications can really, really help. I would say that would be a case. I think where we're trying to get people to question it a little bit is that if you are just looking to lose 5 to 10 kilos, there is this myriad of ways that you can do that. Tons of foods that we've covered. There's other interventions. We even have natural supplements as well. Berberine is by far one of the most researched. So berberine they call nature's metformin, and they're also calling it now nature's Ozempic. And so we have that, I think, on You Must Try It in the Ultra Slim Fort. They use berberine as a tool. And women are finding that if you do just want to get a little bit, I totally understand. In the beginning, if you're wanting to just get a couple of kilos going so that you get the positive reinforcement, you can use berberine for a couple months, no problem. Has a little bit of that GLP stimulator and kind of help you get going.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad thing.
No. Very easy, very simple. And like I said, it has polyphenols and other benefits as well. Turmeric, we've mentioned. Ginseng is something that's coming up under the research as well. We mentioned collagen peptides. There's some really, really incredible research looking at ways that we can concentrate extracts from foods and turn it into a natural version instead of, having to rely on things like the Ozempic.
So berberine, we're obviously having our collagens in our coffees and things and in our protein shakes. You can add it all in. Another one that we love here is inositol. Yeah. Can you talk us through what it does and why it's good for us?
Yeah, actually GLP-1 and inositol work really, really well together when it comes to insulin signaling. So we have that at You Must Try It, and we do use it in our challenge to very gently increase the efficiency of your insulin. Try and slowly bring those insulin levels down to a healthy level. So it works quite synergistically together. Something we should touch on as well is sleep. If you have one bad night of sleep, we know it actually blunts your GLP-1 signaling. And we know this when it comes to cravings, because you can be guaranteed if you have a really rough night, your decisions when it comes to food the next morning are probably going to be a little bit more difficult.
It's just willpower, isn't it?
Well, yes. And I also would say orient your life in a way that you just implement these very simple strategies, and then you don't actually have to think about it. You don't even have to worry about it.
Does exercise affect what GLP-1 does in your body?
Absolutely. So two things that are really important more from a lifestyle perspective is not only obviously sleep, but fasting works. We are big advocates for women fasting a little bit more in the evening. So trying to get their first meal in roughly around 9 o'clock in the morning from a lean muscle mass perspective, having a large breakfast, a moderate lunch, and then a light dinner, because you actually get into your fasting window earlier at nighttime. Fasting has really, really beneficial effects when it comes to that GLP-1 receptor, as well as exercise. So all of these things that we know. I think the challenge that we have is when we get to a certain age, we are more sedentary, and we again tend to orient ourselves to the exercise that might be a little bit more comfortable, which is things like walking, which I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying walking is not good. It is incredibly grounding and beneficial. But when we're talking about metabolic health, efficient GLP-1 signaling, we need to keep our lean muscle. And so that's where we have to get in, and we have to do some slow, hard weights. And if belly fat in particular is a really, really big challenge for you, that is where we had Dr. Stacy Sims on here. Sprint training is probably one of the most effective ways that you can actually burn visceral fat. And the science behind that is all because of the biochemistry that occurs when you are sprinting. So when you are going 40 seconds as hard as you can, and then stopping. And this is the cool thing. It's actually about the stopping for 3 full minutes, which is really important, because what that does is gets really high lactate levels in the body. And when you have high levels of lactate, your body's biochemistry is actually going to start pulling fat from interabdominal visceral. So our little formula is obviously savory breakfast, protein, good fats and veggies, tapering your meals down. And then when it comes to your exercise, still do the walking with your girlfriends. That's important. But you need to get in a couple of sessions of slow, hard weights combined with ideally 2 sessions of a sprint training.
And again, if you've never sprinted before, you don't actually have to sprint. You just have to run as hard as you can. And it may not look like a sprint for people on the outside, but to your body, that's working hard. That is a sprint.
You don't even, you don't even have to run. And this is the cool thing. It was probably, it's been over 6 months ago now. I used to do hill runs. And the reason I do it on a hill is because I am 44. I don't think running on a flat ground is for me anymore. Look, I'd hate to see what I look like anyway, but I thought, you know what, when you run up a hill, what your target is actually just to get your heart rate up. So about 6 months ago, I just put it out there to go, hey ladies, I'm running hills up at Moffat Beach. Who wants to join? I talked about the science of visceral fat, but I had 38 women instantly go, sign me up. When can I do it?
Yeah.
When? I'll start tomorrow. And we ended up taking a group of about 15 because that's all we could handle at the time. And they all lost visceral fat. But this is the cool thing. I had ladies that were 28, and I think my oldest was about 64. And it meets you where you're at with your fitness. So the very first time we ran up Moffat Beach Hill, I said, okay, I just want you to do a power walk, because we calculated their max heart rate. And we just go, look, I wrote the number just on their hand. I said, look, this is the target that you need to get to. And the first run, I just want you to kind of power walk, jog. And so we went up to the top and we measured our heart rates. For the 28-year-old, there's nowhere, she didn't come even close to it. For my 64-year-old, it was close, but not quite there. I said, okay, well then a sprint.
You got to go a little harder.
Yeah, but a sprint for her was just kind of a light jog, which was great because that was her goal. She didn't need to go any faster than that. Whereas, of course, when we got to the top after our first run, my 28-year-old didn't come close. I'm like, sorry, honey, you got to go harder.
You got to go steeper. You got to go faster. But you can also get your heart rate up, and I certainly do when I'm doing weight training. My heart, I am out of breath. Does that count?
As long as you're meeting that max heart rate. So we calculate it by doing 220 minus your age is a general rule of thumb to try and get your max heart rate. And so you just get familiar with your exercise. And this is the cool thing. It does not have to be running. You can do a sprint session on a rowing machine, on a ski arc, on a stair stepper, on a salt bike, in a pool, doing swimming if you have joint issues or hip issues. There's so many ways. It's not about running. The science is by getting your heart rate up for 30 to 40 seconds and then stopping for a full
Bringing it back down.
So there's
until it goes right back to almost base, almost resting.
all the way back down. And then there's really beautiful side effects there because in menopause, obviously, we have to focus on our cardiovascular health. So there's incredible benefits from doing this combination of slow, hard weights for lean muscle and then 2 sessions a week of sprint interval training that meets you where you're at. You watch the benefits that occur.
The fact you get this beautiful break of 3 minutes pretty much in between each 40-second hit. I mean, you could do that all day. Let's be honest.
My group of ladies, the challenge was only 8 weeks. They're still going. This is 6 months later. I meet them every Thursday and every Sunday morning at 5:30 a.m. And all of them are not runners. They're like, I've never run in my life. Like, there's no way. They're still doing it because it's connection. We go down to the bottom of the hill and just gas bag for 3 minutes.
How many times are you running this
We do
hill?
6. Yeah, we do 5 to 6.
6.
Like when I push them past 6, they're grumbling at me.
They just want a coffee.
Yeah, they do because we do. We go get a coffee afterwards. So it's a beautiful social experience too. So get a group of women together.
Get a group of women. That's it. Jump on your socials. Go, right, this is it. It's 40 seconds. 40 seconds.
Yeah. It's a total.
And do a few in a row.
Yeah. Well,
see how you go.
The girls literally say if you do the math, it is a total of 2.5 to 3 minutes of actual exertion. And most people are like, that is my kind of exercise. Sign me up.
I love this, Lynsey, because obviously as you get fitter and stronger and feeling better, you can still do this same exercise, whether it be hill runs or just 40 seconds of power, 3 minutes of rest. When we're first starting out, and again, if we're just putting out the crunch plate before our dinners at night to sort of that baby step, and then we're just getting back into exercise because we realise it is about losing that visceral belly fat first. How do we even begin if we're just at that base level?
Absolutely.
We've been looking at taking one of these medications. We're doing our research, and that's why we're listening here. We would love to do it ourselves, but we think it's going to be too hard, particularly the exercise part.
Absolutely. Look, you can start really slowly. So start with light weights. We use the rule of thumb that if you're trying to do a set of 12, if you get to the 8th number and you're really struggling, that's the correct weight for you. And that's how you prevent injuries, is you slowly build your strength, you slowly build your fitness. And the same thing with a sprint interval. I think the name scares people off, but a sprint for you might just start at doing 1 round. You might have a bike at home and you might just hop on it and just try and get your heart rate up. And like I said, if your fitness is not where it should be, it meets you where you're at. So all you got to do is get your heart rate up a little bit and then stop. And if you start with 1 round, perfect. And you just start adding on and building.
It is. It's those little steps. You can do it. I encourage you, again, listen to this again. There are so many wonderful tips there, Lyns, for us, I guess, activating our GLP-1 pathways within our own bodies without having to take an injection. And I really encourage everyone to think about this first. You can do it. It just takes a little bit more willpower. And if you're willing to inject yourself, surely you've got the willpower to eat your veggies first.
So true. I think we want to really cover on the mindset of we want to shift it to the mindset of what can we add instead of take away. So what can I specifically add to my plate that's going to help me with this GLP pathway instead of trying to have no meals or no eating and not having all that joy.
And there's so many layers to this, Lyns, and the fact that if you were just able to focus on yourself for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, chances are we wouldn't be in the position that we're in now. But lives are busy. People are squeezing so much into their day and out of their day that just to do these small things, it does take some effort, and it takes some consideration. But of course, then we get this next layer of, well, I'm under great stress and I'm under great, this is stopping me from also treating my body the way it should. And I know that stress also makes us sometimes hold on to weight. What is that?
It is. Cortisol is something that is primarily going to drive the body to protect itself. And really, when you think about it from a metabolic perspective, is if your body is getting the constant signal and message that it's under stress and duress, you can understand its adjustments to try and hold on to weight, because weight is about energy, isn't it? So we have to understand that. I think the cool thing is what we're asking you to do, which is to slow down, prioritize your meals, connect with your family, stop and eat, move, get outside. All those things naturally lower cortisol anyway. So you're actually targeting that whole cortisol belly at the same time if you put some of these other things into your routine.
Look, I really do hope you've all got something out of this conversation today here at the Aging Project. Lynsey, you are a goddess. We can't thank you enough for making it so easy for us to understand how we can treat ourselves better. We have a great community here at the Aging Project. So if you haven't signed on or signed up, just jump on our website. We've got a wonderful community there. Lots of people adding their comments. We've got a belly fat challenge running at the minute, which is basically us holding your hand to help you through some of the steps that Lynsey and I have spoken about today. But there is 1,000 other women in there all having this same conversation and sharing their trials and tribulations and their bitter test and what sort of foods they are eating. And of course, if you're looking for any of the products that we spoke about today, whether it be some supplements, whether it be collagens, whether it be proteins, please have a look at You Must Try It. It's our little shop where we have tried, tested, and we love everything there. So jump onto You Must Try It, join us on our community boards, and we'll speak to you again soon. As always, the Aging Project podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. Always seek medical advice from a qualified practitioner.